Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, we're jumping into the golden era of professional wrestling and over the ropes into the ring. Now you'll be working your way up the ranks from an opener all the way to capturing the World Championship belt. And you'll be doing that by using styles and gimmicks and managers and drama and feuds and attire and weapons and of course, patented finishers. Diabolical Dave's Rumble Throwdown is for 3 to 6 players. It takes 1 to 3 hours to play. It's for ages 14 and up and published by Grimsteel Games. Now it's being crowdfunded right now, so I'm going to show you how the game works and I'll see you on the other side. This is a crowdfunding preview, so all the art and components you see here are not final. These are prototypes. To see how the most up-to-date art and components, check the link in the description of this video. The game is played over 12 weeks, known as rounds. Each of those rounds is going to have an event that's going to affect the match. It's also going to have some possible drama and some commentator actions that's going to happen. But then you're going to be facing off against another superstar. Sometimes you're going for the belts. You might be trying to go against the TV Championship, or the National Championship, or the World Championship. Now, at the end of the 12th round, whoever has the best belt is the winner. Otherwise, you're going to be going through ranks. Because you'll be tracking these ranks through the beginning of the game, you might just be an opener where you're ranked 1 through 12, and you're going to be, be on the undercards and when they're really not on TV and dark matches and things like that. Eventually, you're going to be moving up to have a rank between 13 and 30 to be a mid-carder. And hopefully you'll make it up to the main eventers where your rank's going to be between 31 and 60. Now at the beginning of the game, you're going to get some cards. You're going to be sort of drafting a little bit or selecting which cards to keep for strategic reasons, but you're also going to be able to decide whether you want to be a face, which is sort of like a good guy, or a heel, which is sort of like a bad guy. And you're going to decide which side of the board you're going to use based upon some of the cards you've been dealt. Now there's certain advantages to one or the other. A lot of the cards that you have may have some things specific to them. Generally speaking, the faces get to spend popularity tokens to get the top card of sort of ring cards, where the heels get to get gear cards to do some more illegal things and things like that. However, over the course of the game, you're going to be using tokens, like if you're a face, you're going to be using popularity or pop points, pop tokens, to do different things and play different cards, where if you're a heel, you're going to be using heat. However, even if you're a face, you can get heat by playing different cards, and if this ever fills up, you're actually going to flip from being a face into a heel. So you can either become a bad guy from a good guy or vice versa. Now one of the sets of cards that you're going to draft at the beginning of the game or select is going to be your style and your gimmick. And for example, style. I selected Flyer, and what this means is I'm going to be really good at aerial attacks, but not very good with submission holds. And my gimmick is I'm not of this world. It's going to help add a certain amount of crowd participation and excitement into the event pool. It's going to allow you to win some of these tokens that you're going to be able to use to play cards and do different things. But you're also going to be able to spend that currency to do different things. So when setting up, again, you're going to be able to select between 2 styles and 2 gimmicks, but you're making that decision based upon 10 other cards that you're getting that are actually gear cards, and you're going to be selecting from those 10, you're going to be selecting 6. So you're looking at what these cards are, you're looking at what the other ones are for a strategic start of the game. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to start in week 1, and there'll be 3 different event cards that the commentator can select. One player is going to be the commentator. They'll still possibly wrestle this round, but they're going to be the one sort of running it a little bit. And so in week 1, they'll select one of the 3 cards. This is Eruption. This is going to tell us what might happen with certain DQs, who might be disqualified depending on dice rolls. When certain cards call for things like that, they'll also read the text. It'll also have some aspects of the commentator and what's going to happen during the specific interview that happens before the match. Now, how this works, we're going to play a round using this, then we'll go to week 2, then we'll go to week 3, and week 4 is like the end of the month. It all leads up to a pay-per-view where there'll be a pay-per-view event selected. So essentially it's going to be 12 total rounds. Basically, a set of 4 weeks, you're going to do that 3 times, and that's the whole game. So at the end of that 12th round, or the last pay-per-view, again, you're trying to have the best belt. Now the commentator also will flip this over. They'll set the order, but they'll also roll the die to see what happens. So for example, in the interview, we have 4. So this is going to say, hey, it's an in-ring interview. And so the active wrestler gets 2 of these from the event pool. Now this event pool is built by the commentator at the beginning, and different things affect this event pool, whether there's belts being defended, certain cards like this will add to it and things like that. So different cards and feuds that might be going on and defending of belts will add to that event pool. So I got to take 2 of those. Now everyone starts with 8 of your tokens to start with, and then of course you're going to be getting some event pool tokens. Now when it's your turn, you got 4 choices. One is just skipping your turn and enjoying the show. You'd usually only do that if you're like very low in the tier that you're in. You could wrestle a dark match. Now you're going to be an opener at the beginning. If you did a dark match, you would be going against that. Now that's only a 4. The rewards are less, but you could win them a little easier at the beginning of the game. Otherwise, you could just wrestle a superstar. Now in here, let's just say I'm an opener, I would be going against the blue. So this one's actually televised, dark match is not televised. So they're a 9. If I was a mid-carder, this would be at 29. If I was a main event, I would be at 49. It's wherever you are at the beginning of the match. So right now, I'm an opener, but I want to go for the open. I'm not going to go for the dark match. It's a 9 there. Now again, instead of just flipping a card off the superstar deck, you could challenge one of these for the belts as well. Now keep in mind, sometimes if another actual player has the belt, you'll be actually playing against them. Otherwise, right now I'm just playing against this specific Frenzy wrestler. Now, a few things to note right off the bat. If you notice, my strength is in aerial moves. My weakness is in submissions. His weakness is in aerial moves. So because my strength is his weakness, I actually get a +2. Now, of this 9, 5 of it is this person's sort of a finishing mover, the EKG. It's a +5 heart punch. So this 5 is actually baked into these numbers already. So if there's cards that might allow me to get rid of his special move, that would drop it from a 9 to a 4, for example. So now that I've given you some sort of background on some of the things you're thinking about, let's actually walk through the turn one step at a time. The first one is roll call, and you're going to draw 1 ring card face up. Now, if that card is an angle card, it may affect you. Like this is title stripped. This card can only be affected to someone that holds a title. In this case, it doesn't, so it doesn't affect me. Otherwise, it would affect you. If it doesn't, you could just discard the card. If it's not an angle card, you actually get to keep that in your hand. So let's say maybe it's a manager. I would get to keep this card in my hand. Next, we'd actually do the commentator role, which I already showed you how that works. But you can play a manager any time that you want. So I could have played this in my manager slot, and this one does something cool, which is the active wrestler chooses their drama instead of having it rolled. So I could have chosen one of these two, obviously the better one, for having that manager. So if it was in my hand, I could play it any time, like right here. Now, if I did have a manager but I wanted to hire one, you could do that too. The base cost is 5 if you don't have one from your hand, but I would get to minus this 2 here. So it'd only be 3, and then I would take the ring deck, go from the bottom, and get the first manager I see. Now, before we start getting into some of the moves and such we can do in wrestling, I wanted to show you some other things that you could have as a wrestler. For example, I could have an attire. You can have 1 attire per body for body part. This is my body. This is an attire, and your regal appearance impresses the masses +2. I might have some high top sneakers. They're feet attire. It's also +1 or +2 for long shots. So in this case, I have these 2. Spend these. So I have a flashy robe and high top sneakers, and I've got +2 and +1 there. So I'm at 3. I'm also at a +2 for this, having this here. So I'm actually at a 5 right now, and I only need a 9 to get there. Now, to play a card, I could play something like this. It's a clothesline. It says I would have to spend 1 of my pop tokens, and I could play this. Now, this is a basic move. You can have up to 3 basic moves. It's a strike. It shows you the type of move it is. So I would get the average. It's not my best. It's not my worst. So I would get a +2. However, I could, if I want to, spend this to convert any strike or grappling move to an aerial move, which would be the better thing. So I could spend this one and that one to make it from a 2 to a 3. So those are some of the options you might have. But instead, maybe I just play this signature move. Now, this signature move is an aerial. So it is going to go up at this part of my board, which is strong moves, and I'm going to put it up here. So now I basically got a +5 for this. Now you can only have 2 signature moves, 3 basic moves, or 1 finisher. So my total was 3, 4, 5 for that for having the weakness and the strength, plus this, So I'm already at a 10, so I don't even need to play more cards. Now there are some rules where if you beat it by 5 to 10 points, if it's not a dark match, you get even better reward, but maybe I just hold on my cards right now and see what happens and just take the victory. But also keep in mind, if I was sort of stuck, I could spend some pop because of my gimmick, search the gear deck and take the first signature move, aerial or strike, to your hand. So I could have done that, or I could spend 3 of them to play an additional signature move, aerial or strike. So could have done all that as well. Now, since I won by pinfall, there's 3 face-up cards that I get to select from. If I won by submission, there'd be a 4th one face down there. From these, I would get to pick depending on the type of match that I just won. I won an opener match, so I would receive 1 of these gear cards. I also get a match point and a crowd point. Now, this one's really good. This one could remove the target's gear, providing the highest bonus during this match. Or I could get this one, which is +2, your friends cheer you on from the ringside, or +5 if they interfere and risk DQ. I like gang up. I'm going to take this one here. Those would get discarded. Now that crowd point is pop for me because I am a face, and I get 1 match point. Now this is sort of like basically gives me 1 rank. Every time I get one of these, I move up 1 rank on the rank chart. So at this point now, I'm up to a 9 rank. I'm getting towards the top of the opener tier and then working my way up to the mid-carder as well. Now, obviously, the better the match, the more points, the more rewards you get. If you lose a match, you also lose one of these. Now, those are the very basics of a match. I'm going to show you a bunch more cards here coming up, but don't forget that you can always, when you're wrestling, go for a title. And when you get a title, you get, in this case, you get one of those crowd points. In this case, it would be a pop for me. And then you choose your drama result instead of having it roll. That's kind of like what my manager does. You'd get +3 or +4 if you have a movie star gimmick and things like that. So it's also going to, if someone has one of these or they're defending one of these, it's going to add to the amount of crowd points that are in the bout. And so things get better and better, as you can imagine, as you go for the better belts. Now earlier I showed you that you draw a card and at the beginning, and if it's an angle, it affects you. Like this one could say signing autographs, get 2 pop from the general pool. So that might be a good thing. Or sometimes you might have cards like Gimmick. Now you can only have 1 of these here, but you could discard this one to get this one. Now it does have 1 less audience point there, but I must be an opener, but I could spend 2 to automatically win a match and discard this Gimmick. You can never be a long shot again. Why would I want to be a long shot? Well, for the high top sneakers for the long shot, it can be a +2. So you're trying to combo together the best wrestler you can. Now I mentioned that when you're at the beginning and you're going through the commentator and you're going through the interview, a lot of times this rolls, my manager helped me just get the better thing. This is when players can play drama cards against you. So someone could have played this sneak attack and it attacks a player during their interview, and I get injured and get no pop, and the interview ends. So this is a way for them to not really get a benefit, if you will. Sometimes you can be affected by feud cards when they come up at the beginning of the round. And the final match of the pay-per-view is a steel cage. You ignore all DQ risks. If you lose by 5 or more, you become injured. And no other wrestlers can run in, because if you're facing someone really big and tough, you can ask other players to help you and run in. It risks disqualification, and it gives some benefits to the player that elects to help you. Or maybe the final match of the pay-per-view is a hardcore match. Ignore all DQ risks. So feuds can come in and change things. Sometimes you'll be using weapons. So sometimes you might need to be a heel to use this weapon. Brass knuckles. +2 or +3 if you're an extremist and the player target is injured on a roll of 5 or 6. Or the steel chair, the most common weapon in wrestling. +1 or a +2 for extremists, and the player target is injured on a roll of 6. Now, in addition to those possible injuries, you also be rolling for disqualifications. And depending on what you roll, if it's a 6, the ref looks the other way. If it's a 2 through 5, you've been disqualified. You get heat, which is not bad for a heel, but it's not good for a face. Or both wrestlers are disqualified. Now that's why when selecting the event for that week, it matters, because different things will happen. Like this event, same week 1. If this one was selected instead, then it's more likely that it's not going to happen. So based upon the person selecting the event and the cards in your hand will determine, different things for different matches. There's one-shots. Again, this one has to be a face, this one has to be a heel. It's rope leverage for a +2. It's, change the target of any one-shot or weapon in play. Now, anytime you play a one-shot or a weapon, you get to draw another gear card face down, into your hand. So those are kind of cool too. Sometimes you'll be playing a swindle card. This is extra signature. If you have at least 2 signature moves in play, you can play another signature move from your hand at no cost by attaching to this card. That's pretty cool, because normally, that breaks the rule, you can only have 2 of those. So all different ways and strategies to get better in this game. So again, over the course of the game, you're trying to move up the rankings, challenge the champions of the different belts, holding those belts, and trying to have the best belt at the end of the 12th round. Now, there's a lot of other rules in the game, but this is just a high level to show you what you're trying to do and how the game works. To see all more details, click the link in the description below. Well, there you have Diabolical Dave's Rumble Throwdown. And as I showed in the overview, you're not only creating and improving your wrestler, but you're also acting as the commentator on others' matches. Now, if you'd like to see the most up-to-date art and components and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link below me in the description of this video. Now, that's going to take you directly to the crowdfunding page, and I'm sure that Grimsteel Games would love your support.